The literature review forms a very important part of every research project. For a thesis or for an article, it's an important part of the design for a research project, but it is something that you'll continue to work on throughout the project, something that you'll go back to continuously. First, it's important to develop good ways of keeping your notes and your records about your literature. One of the worst things is trying to find references that you want to include in your thesis after 3 or 4 years of doing work on it, and you've lost them. We recommend Zotero for that task. Some people use EndNote. Whatever you choose, learn the program well and use it consistently. It will save you an enormous amount of time in the long term. You need to read widely, particularly at the beginning of your work. You read books and articles on your topic that are directly relevant. But you also need to read books and articles on the broader context of your topic and on the component factors. Read about potential parallels outside of religious contexts. You need to search for theories, as I've explained in the other video on theories and hypotheses. And this usually means identifying the basic types of human behaviour or the types of organisational behaviour that you are looking at. Reading the materials related to general patterns of human behaviour or organisation. For example, the study of youth in the church should involve examining youth culture in society as a whole. The study of immigrants and how they're relating to church contexts should involve reading about immigrants and settlement in new cultures in general. A study of growth in the Christian faith may well have parallels in adult education. A study of special religious experiences will have parallels to other types of ecstatic experiences that occur outside of religious contexts. So looking at the materials about the secular context help you to understand what is going on in the religious contexts. It's important to read widely in the basic texts of the relevant disciplines to your work. If you're looking at individuals, then you need to look at the materials in psychology. If you're looking at society and social trends, then you need to be reading in the area of sociology. If you're thinking about human nature and its development, then you may well need to be looking at anthropological texts. And within those basic texts, you can look for general theories that may be applicable to your particular context and situation, potential explanations for what you're looking at. Remember that literature search can include data, and you may want to look at previous data that's been collected that's related to your issue. There's a huge amount of data that's available in various surveys that's never been analysed. And much of that data is freely available. There's data available on church attenders from the NCLS surveys, for example. There's a huge amount of general data in surveys such as the Australian Survey of Social Attitudes, which has been run regularly in Australia for about 30 years or so. There's data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Read critically. Some literature is just based on opinion. There hasn't been much research that's been done by the author in order to really confirm their ideas. And sometimes that literature that is based on opinion is very helpful for generating ideas and possibilities and even theories. But you need to distinguish it from that literature which is based on careful research. But you need to ask how careful, how good is the research on which a particular book or an article was based? How broad was the sampling? Did it include all the different types of people that you can think of and may be relevant to your own particular situation? People of different cultures, for example, people of different age groups. And what were the underlying assumptions behind the book or the article? When was it written? And has there been further research done since, which has updated that information, updated those ideas? Most literature is written in a particular context and applies to limited contexts, even though it may be written as if it's universally applicable. It's built on limited evidence. It's dependent on particular conceptions and assumptions. And you need to be thinking through those whenever you read books and articles, and as you seek to review them and apply them to your own research. Distinguish carefully between academic literature and popular literature. The easiest way to do that often is by looking at the style of referencing. Academic texts are usually referenced fully and carefully. They demonstrate well that the author is familiar with other academic literature on the topic, has read it and absorbed it, and has taken it into account in the formulation of his or her own work. Academic literature usually has very clear presentation of methodology. And again, that's a good indicator that the work has been done carefully. In general, academic work comes to careful conclusions, and the author will show the limitations of his or her knowledge of what cannot be concluded from the evidence that's been gathered. It's also worth checking whether the work has been peer-reviewed. Is it in a peer-reviewed journal? And are those reviews blind, so the reviewer does not know who the author is? Most journals indicate their processes of reviewing the articles that go in them. Or has it been published by a highly reputable academic publisher? Or has the material been reviewed by other people since it's been published? Again, it's really worth chasing up potential reviews. You can read popular works, but don't give them the same credence that you'd give to good academic texts. When it comes to writing your literature review, remember that it's not an account of what you've read. It's not an account of the books that you've been through or the articles that you've examined. It's in fact a significant part of your thesis overall, and as such it should maintain the argument of your thesis. The literature review is the place where you give an indication of the state of human knowledge in your particular domain. you review the theories that are relevant to the understanding of the particular topic that you're investigating. You will examine the gaps in human knowledge, the gaps that you are going to fill in your particular research. From your literature review will come a strong argument about how your research should be conceived, the theories and the hypotheses that will underlie your explorations. It will also be part of your argument about how your research adds to human knowledge and to understanding.